Let's see. This virtual camera. Right. Okay. So do you want to do the introduction for this one, please, bro?
Yeah. Well, hello. Welcome to our second segment of our football referee podcast today. I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me Bruv.
And I'm Emmy Hickins, and he calls me Cos. Welcome to this second segment of the football referee. Now we're going to start with the American player Folarin
Yeah.
Balogun. So it's Folarin Balogun. He plays for the United States. He was given a red card and it was overturned. Do you want to do the introduction for this one, please, bro? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he was given, so he was given a red card and he was overturned. Now, Belgium want FIFA to explain Balogun's reversal and they want to challenge the striker's eligibility. Your thoughts?
My first thoughts are just to confirm we are recording this time.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah. So my thoughts on the American player and who wants to challenge who? Did you say?
So the Belgium, because they played
Yeah.
Belgium and they lost 4-1 to Belgium. That was after it was overturned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Folarin Balogun. So they want FIFA to explain the reversal of the red card.
Well, of course, what we know is that President Trump contacted FIFA, and I believe he spoke to the head of FIFA, whose name I can't remember, but we know what he looks like, and spoke to him. And I think one of the things he said was, he said, "I don't know what a red card is." Now, that may see this is Trump saying that. Now, that may seem a bit odd to us, but it's probably not odd because obviously America has its very much its own set of games, huge games,
Mm,
around the country. They have ice hockey, basketball, um, baseball, all sorts of games. Football, their national football, as they call it, American football. And of course, they call our game soccer. So it's not a great surprise that maybe Trump wasn't aware what a red card was. So apparently, he wanted clarification of what that red card was and why it would necessitate their very good footballer, their good player who was sent off, being banned for one game.
mm,
Well, I gather, I guess that was all explained to him. But pretty much the next thing we hear was that FIFA have suspended, that's the word they used, the red card. So they didn't cancel it, they simply suspended it for reasons they gave not. They gave no reasons for why they'd done that, except to quote a very obscure regulation in their football regulations that, and I read the quote of this very kind of obscure quote, and it said something along the lines that FIFA has the right to suspend um, the consequences of a red card as well as the red card. I don't know whether it said without explanation, but there was certainly something that suggested that could happen. But that's apart. And subsequent to that, the regulations are very clear that on a red card in a World Cup, there will be at least a one game ban. Now, they can add to that, it says in the rules, if presumably if it's a really particularly vicious, violent tackle, they can actually make it a longer ban. But I suppose in a limited competition like the World Cup, they wouldn't really want some of the top players banned for more than one game for obvious reasons. It dilutes the competition, I suppose. So
mm.
they quoted that, but they gave no explanation why they were suspending this red card. Now, I don't think you need to be Einstein to work out perhaps why the boss of FIFA, who clearly was involved, I believe he spoke to Trump, and it would have been referred to him anyway. We don't need some highfalutin degree in anything to think, well, he spoke to the American president, who clearly made it very apparent that he didn't want this player dropped from the next game. if it had been one of their less important players, I don't know whether the same thing would have happened. But this guy clearly, I think he'd scored some goals. He's a very good footballer, so you can see why Trump, may be under advice from others in his administration, sought to have this changed. Now, so that's what happened, and he did play, and of course, Belgium did beat them 4-1, as you say. So maybe justice and karma took their courses. But as to the fact that that happened, my own view is it's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. And I think Belgium are right to seek an explanation, to really put the hierarchy of FIFA on the spot, to say what on what grounds did you do that? You surely cannot bow to political pressure. Now, how easy it is for us to sit here on a podcast saying that, and we can only imagine that the job of president of FIFA is a huge job anyway. And for years we had someone called Blatter and ex-French footballer called Latini, who I think were eventually found guilty of corruption and were banned from FIFA and football for a few years. I don't think we'll see um, Blatter around anymore. I don't know if he's still alive even, but I'm sure in some ways he did a good job for FIFA. He loved football, but clearly some things went badly wrong. So, and I don't think there's any suggestion here of things against the current FIFA president, except that he bowed, or he and his colleagues at the top of FIFA bowed to the pressure from President Trump. And
Mm,
I think even President Trump, I would have thought and hoped that would acknowledge that if that's what happened, then it was a very wrong thing to do. Because if what if America, the USA, had won that game? Where would that possibly have left this whole competition? I mean, we should be grateful. The powers that be should be grateful that Belgium thumped them,
yeah.
4-1. Because if they'd gone on to win, I think the worldwide cry would have been, this doesn't count. You cannot, especially if the guy had scored, but even if he hadn't, you cannot take this seriously anymore, this competition, because if USA were to go on and win it, it would be completely flawed. It would not be a legitimate victory, as wouldn't have been a victory against Belgium. So the agreement to suspend that red card and let that player play could have wrecked this tournament and its credibility completely. It just
Mm,
would, because what would happen then? Would they have said, "Okay, there's a lot of pressure around the world now. We're gonna play that match again, or we're gonna dump USA"? There was no way back from that. So they must thank their lucky stars that Belgium won that game, and I think Belgium have got every right to demand an explanation why that was done,
mm,
coming which that it will not come, because there cannot be, unless there really is something that the world doesn't know about this, and I doubt that very much.
mm,
There cannot be a logical explanation for suspending that red card, except to
mm,
bow to pressure from a president of a country. So yeah, I think it's a worrying development that the powers that be, either in FIFA, and obviously it's not UEFA, the European people, but if these things can happen at one hierarchy, they could happen anywhere where pressure
mm.
and undue pressure is put on by politicians. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is going to be, what FIFA say to Belgium, but I think people will be behind Belgium saying, "Come on, we want to know what influenced your decision."
Mm, mm. I don't think America's ever lost by that margin in this tournament. I don't think they've lost by 4 goals to 1.
No, no,
I don't
no.
think so. So I was definitely Karma just, you know, quietly doing its part there. Well,
Yeah,
publicly. This case, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Now the next one we're gonna move to is Abeloa. Alvaro Abeloa. So
yeah.
he was the just sacked coach of Real Madrid. And the good news is, I don't know if it's a good news or a bad news, but the news is he's heading to England to be Fulham's head coach.
Fulham.
Now, I don't remember who Fulham's head coach was.
It was Silva, wasn't it? What's his name? What's his first name? Anyway, it's Silva, and he's
Right.
gone. He's gone abroad, hasn't he? He's managed one or two
Ah,
other clubs here as well.
right. I
Yeah, what
remember
was his
now,
name?
yeah.
I can't remember his first name, but you know him.
Yeah, I
He's
do know him
something
now, yeah.
Silva. Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was a good
He
coach.
was a
Good
good
coach he
coach.
was.
He was a good coach,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I just didn't know why he left. But anyway, it's a choice that he's
Well, he was at
probably
the. I
made.
think he was at the end of his contracts, like one or two others, and we may come on in a minute to talk about Oliver Glasner. He was at the end of his contract, and
Yeah.
what he's done. You probably know what he's done, where he's
Yeah.
gone, but we'll talk about that in a minute, perhaps. But
Right,
Silva
okay.
was legitimately at the end of his contract. He was up for grabs, as was the manager, also of Bournemouth, who's gone to
Mm.
Liverpool, Iriola.
Riola,
There's a
yeah.
lot of movement. I think this season
Mm.
there will be 10 new managers in the Premier League, at least
Wow.
10. So it's pretty much,
Wow.
well, it's
That's a
half the
lot.
Premier League have changed their manager. So it's
Yeah.
quite an industry for rotation, if you like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to mention what I think about Oliver Glasner, what he's done.
Oliver Glasner. Yeah. Yeah. Please go ahead. We'll come back to the Fulham one.
Yeah. Well, again, it touches on to the fact there's been a lot of managerial changes, right? From Slot, of course, he was sacked effectively. Guardiola. It won't be quite the same without him.
Yeah.
They've got the guy from Chelsea, haven't they? What's his name? Fresco, is it, or something like that?
Xabi
And
Alonso
no. Alonso has gone to
is in Chelsea. Xabi
yeah,
Alonso.
he's gone to Chelsea. Yeah, yeah, but no.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so Oliver Glasner,
Yeah.
um, he left Palace at the end of the season, having had a very good generally a very good 2 years. In the space of the last 12 months, Palace won the
Yeah.
FA Cup, Community Shield against Man City and Liverpool, so quality opposition, and then the Conference League in Europe,
Yeah.
um, which again was a very good ending to Glasner's term. And he was held, and I guess will be held in some esteem by the fans because he did give us that period of three trophies within a 12 months period. That said, it has to be said that perhaps as a result of being in the European Conference League this season, this
Mm.
past season,
Mm.
the Premier League season wasn't so great. I think Palace finished 15th, quite safe in terms of relegation, but we didn't have a great season. And generally speaking, because you played the European games on a Thursday night, the
Mm.
games that we had the following Sunday in the Premier League, we suffered for because I think there's tiredness, and we saw the same maybe with Tottenham the previous season. They won it. Um, they won the Europa League, but again, the games on a Thursday, and they were at a very bad season. They finished 17th.
Mm.
So anyway, back in February, Glasner blew his top after one defeat. I forget which one it was. It followed the Macclesfield defeat, but it wasn't that one, I don't think. And
Mm.
he sort of had a real go at the owners. Excuse me, a real go about not being supported, and they didn't rebuild the team after the FA Cup win. And frankly, some of the things he said probably had some justification. You know, he wasn't a stupid man, but on the surface, he always sort of spoke as if there were no divisions, particularly between him and Steve Parish and the ownership generally. But
Mm.
he really was very outspoken in February to the point that I think people felt in football generally that he was trying to get the sack. He wanted to go then, possibly because he'd been offered something else or what. But to his credit, Steve Parish, if you like, stuck with him, made him see out his contract, which did result in that European trophy at the end. So that was good. But the little hints that because people along those last few months were saying, "Do you think he'll stay? Now we've won this trophy and all that." And I
Mm.
think the consensus was he wouldn't stay. He'd made up his mind. I seem to remember reading at the time back in February that he wanted to watch one of his kids in Austria or in some sporting competition in the summer, and that he
Mm.
kind of implied he wanted a break from
Mm.
football. So there was all that. And then Palace at the end of the season, they've gone and got another manager, a Frenchman called Pierre Sage from Lens in France, who looks to have a reasonable CV. So I think there's some hope there. But then, to my astonishment, when I was away on holiday actually,
Mm.
and it was confirmed, I think beginning of this week by Forest, that Oliver Glasner's gone to Nottingham Forest. Now, when we won the FA Cup, we
Mm.
should have gained automatic entry into the Europa League, which
Yeah.
is the middle one, and the one after that is the Champions League.
Yeah.
But the Forest owner, who actually they qualified in their league position for the Conference League, basically did everything he could to oust Palace from the Europa League and take their place. So we would have been relegated to the Conference League because of ownership issues.
Yeah.
Uh, an owner can't have an interest in two clubs, and one of our minority owners did have an interest, I think, in possibly a French club, which he subsequently sold, but it was just after the deadline date. So there was
Mm.
a technical problem on the part of Palace's ownership, and
Mm.
you'd have to say that. But it had been overlooked before by UEFA. But in this case, the owner, the Greek owner of Forest, pressed and pressed and pressed, and it dominated a lot of the thinking, I think, at Palace. And they UEFA crumbled, caved in, and put Palace. They put them down to the Conference League, and put Forest in the Europa League, which they
Colleague, yeah.
didn't win, whereas we did win this other one, which means we are now qualified. Palace are qualified for next season's Europa League,
Super. Yeah.
and Forest are not in a league. Well, you think then that Glasner is then announced as their new manager. They're not in Europe, which Palace are, and a lot of people initially said, "Well, what the hell? Why didn't he stay with us?" I mean, he built the team. He appeared from things he said to like the place, the fans, and the new stand is now finally being built. That the bulldozers have moved in, so things are happening, and we're still in Europe. We've had a good 2 year period, but he obviously was resolute. He wasn't going to stay. And then it turns out he's going to, I won't say an arch rival, but after all of the history with the UEFA business, with the Europa League and so on, and that the Forest owner did everything he could to oust Palace. I mean, we saw his behaviour on the pitch with Nuno when he had an argument with one of his managers.
Yeah.
Last year, Forest had four managers. I mean, he hires and fires like there's no tomorrow. So maybe I hope Glasner knows what he's doing, except um, I don't know. A number of people have said that maybe a bigger job that he hoped might come along didn't materialise, because the
Oh.
fact is Palace didn't have a good season in the Premier League. We didn't. It was nothing like as good as the previous one, but
Yeah.
we did win the thing at the end. So I think his currency was very high. His stock was higher after the FA
Mm.
Cup and Community Shield wins.
Mm.
So he probably anticipated, and maybe his agent said, "Oh, I've got this team interested," or somewhere in Europe I thought it was going to be. But he ended up going to Forest, after all the stuff that was going on last season. And as I take the view, one might also think that the reported £13 million salary per year on a 3 year contract might just have influenced him a little bit to go to Forest. So that even if the Greek owner there, does what he's done so often in recent times and fires Glasner because he's lost the first three games or something like that, Glasner
Mm.
will walk away a mega rich individual. So clearly, that kind of money, which this man has got to splash around, has played its part. And as we've said before, maybe football management these days, certainly in the Premier League and other big leagues around Europe, is probably one of the only jobs in the world where you can fail and be rewarded with money being shoveled at you, either for the next 2 or 3 years or in one huge lump. So I was trying to think who it was that walked away with. I think it was the Chelsea man. What was his name? Who
Moresco.
came over from? Marseille.
Enzo Meras. Oh no, Liam Rosinia.
Rosinia. I think he
Rosinia.
walked away with £14 million. Now we I say these numbers; they're only numbers that are reported. Some say that that's not the right figure. Very often, the figure is more than we're told. But he obviously walked away with a lot of money. Now, I suppose he has a good start to his Chelsea times, but it didn't go well after that. So you could argue, in football terms, he didn't do very well, and he's walked away rich. We know that Graham Potter, who now manages um, a national side, doesn't he, or a team in Sweden? I can't remember. But he went to Chelsea after Brighton. He lasted 6 months, didn't really do much, and he had a 5-year contract at 12 million a year. £60 million contract. Well, I think they carried on paying him for a year before he got another job of his contract. So £1 million a month, very nice work if you can get it. And I don't know what other payoff he would have got for being sacked pretty quickly after being
Yeah.
taken on. Because again, Chelsea's owners really play with monopoly money as far as the rest of us are concerned, a bit like the Greek owner. These people have got more money than, well, who knows what. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. But as far as Glasner's concerned, what do people think? Well, a lot of people say, well, we won't ever forget the good things he did for us, the joy of these victories and so on. But there's usually a but there, though, that how can he really have gone to Forest? Now, Palace fans really got nothing much against Forest fans. They don't. It's not against the fans. It's the ownership that really caused us problems. But for Glasner to go there, knowing that there all that was there, and then I read his opening statement yesterday to the fans, and it was, we're going to do this together. I like this, and it was like all the things he was thinking and saying about Palace, and it's so close. If a year had gone by or 6 months, you think, well, he's not got another job. He's been offered this job, a lot of money. Forest, good luck to him, even if it's still stuck in the throat a bit. But it's straight away. And you think, well, Forest are due back at Palace. Our home game against them is on the 10th of October, which is going to be quite an interesting game, because there was already this, feeling against the owner. And last season he came to Palace, and there were a lot of. I mean, I don't like it when some section of fans hold up these big signs, abusive. That's wrong. Um, that is wrong. But a lot of the anger actually went against UEFA for even agreeing to take Palace out of that competition. But
Mm.
the owner got a lot of verbal abuse in the stadium, for which I think Palace were fined. You've got to. It's not right to do that. But when with Glasner coming, a lot of people say they will boo. A lot of people won't boo. I don't go along with booing. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's almost better to ignore somebody, because that's maybe more effective if you don't let them affect you. But I suspect Glasner will be, because he walks by. The managers always walk by both teams very close to the crowd,
Mm.
and he'll probably be aware of some negative feelings towards him, which
Well,
I can understand. To
I can
me, it
understand
feels
that.
like it feels like a betrayal of us Palace fans. It does, this close to his time with us, and you start to think, well, did he ever really like Palace? Or is that why he went? I don't believe there were issues with the owners. I mean, maybe there are, because we don't always know. But
Mm.
such a shame, because it's left a bad taste in the mouth from someone who has revolutionised things at Palace and made everybody feel great about winning things, which we hadn't really done before. And now there's this bad taste. So hopefully that will go away. But I don't wish him unwell, ill, or
No.
anything. But put it this way, it won't worry me at all when I look at Forest's result every week to see they've lost. It will not concern me. That's the best way I can put it. If his team loses on a regular basis, but
Well, I'll be.
no, he's a good manager, and he'll probably do pretty well.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. Not with that man. Not with that. Not with the owner of Forest. I don't. The guy has no integrity. He has no loyalty.
No,
He's just,
no, no, he doesn't.
he's a cold. He's a really cold
Yeah,
businessman. And
yeah,
that's not even business because business sometimes has a bit of loyalty attached to it. He has
absolutely.
none of that. He's just
Mm,
a cutthroat,
yeah.
money monger. That's the only way I can describe him. But yeah, I thought Glasner went to AC Milan. At
Well,
least
that,
that
that
was the
was
first.
rumored. That was rumored, but it
It
never
was
came to
rumored.
fruition.
All right, yeah,
No, it didn't
yeah,
come to fruition, that one.
yeah. I suppose it's all about the money at the end of the day, you know. You follow the money, you'll know the true intentions. Anyway,
Yep, yep.
now we did mention Liam Rosinho in the conversation just now. Now, Liam Rosinho is back, all signed with Paris FC as as of last week. That's the former Chelsea and Strasbourg
Mm.
coach has agreed all terms and returns to League One. He's got more gems. I'm starting to think he's luckier than what's that lad's name?
Yeah,
Jaden Sancho,
yeah. So sorry, where is Rossini gone then?
Paris FC,
Paris.
which is a League One in France.
All right,
Uh,
yeah, in Paris.
yeah, they're in League
Yeah,
One, so that's like our Premier League, isn't it? It's the
yeah,
same.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
Well,
So here we,
yeah, I suppose it's like our Premier League, isn't it?
yeah,
Which PSG are in, I
yeah,
suppose.
with
Yeah,
PSG, yeah, that's what I was gonna
yeah.
say.
All
So
right.
yeah, he'll
Okay.
be playing
Yeah.
against PSG. Yeah, he's really had a soft landing, I'd say.
It's strange, isn't it? I mean, I think he did quite well at Strasbourg, which is why because there's a connection, isn't there, between
Yeah,
Strasbourg and Chelsea. So that's why they took him. But he didn't do famously well at Chelsea when he was the manager.
no,
So
no, he
there
didn't.
does seem to be kind of a merry-go-round of managers. There always has been. We used to have that with some of them very good managers in their time. People like Allardyce and Pardew, three or four of these people, and they kept getting jobs and that, and they did some good, and sometimes they failed. But
Yeah,
I think that there's younger guys now on the same merry-go-round that even if they don't do too well, they'll get picked up by another team who think, oh well, yeah, he can do well for us, and
it
maybe
just
sometimes they do. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised to hear that.
yeah, it just feels like everything's been recycled. Now
Mm.
there were two Premier League players, or is there? I think there were two Premier League players in the World Cup. One of them is Granit Xhaka. I think he plays for Sunderland. And there was a Palace player. Is there still a Palace player in there?
But there's
There was a
Daniel Munoz, and Jefferson Lerma both played for Colombia.
right, yeah. So, well, they're out now, aren't they? Colombia's out.
They've only just gone out last night, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So we're not doing well. We're not doing bad Premier League wise in the World Cup, are we?
No, not at all.
Yeah, yeah. So this is what Egypt's Zico, the guy that is goal, the guy that had his goal disallowed. This is what he had to say about the referee. He says the referee is unfair. God is sufficient for me and the best disposer of affairs. He's wasting the effort of an entire nation. The cup is being given to Argentina. They will win the World Cup. No, I don't. But he's openly saying that the referee is being, a bit biased on the. I can understand that. He's got justifications for that. But what I don't understand is he got justification for the way that his team played? I know we've talked about them in the
Sorry, which
first.
which team which team are we talking about?
So this is Egypt's Zico.
Oh, right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
he's the guy that scored the goal. I think his full name is Mustafa
Yeah.
Mohamed Zico. Now it's said that it's come out plainly to say the referee was unfair. Um, I can understand the referee. I can understand a few decisions going against you, But did they play that well to deserve a win?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, I think reading something this morning, I think the manager, maybe this is the guy you're talking about, but didn't he make the sign, this sign like that, to the
Oh,
ref, which is the agreed sign to the authorities, to the ref, that racism has occurred. They put their arms up like that, don't
yes, yes, yes. The
they? And
manager, I
but then he
remember
was
that now.
told by the ref to put it down. I think he was booked,
It
and even
was, yeah.
some of his own coaching staff were telling him not to. Now, I don't know whether this. I only sort of saw this morning, but I don't know whether it will gain some traction as it goes on. But for me, if somebody makes that gesture, crossing their arms, it's long. Since they put that in a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
the protocol is the referee stops the game. They quickly find out what's happened. If necessary, they'll take the players off the pitch, and then hopefully it will be resolved and things will resume pretty quickly. But it seems to me the ref didn't appreciate what that gesture is, because he he books the manager, and even, as I say, even his own coaching staff, I think, trying to get him out of trouble and risking being sent to the stand or something by the ref,
Mhm.
they told him to. So I don't believe anything was done in response to that strong suggestion of racism. It's always been said, if a player or a manager, official, puts their arms together like that, then the ref must stop the game. Now, the fact that he didn't, I don't know whether there's a story in this. I just happened to see something about it this morning when I was looking at my phone.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't know what the racism was, if there was any, but I don't think he would have done that for no good reason. When the camera went on him during the game, I gather, it was said that he looked very, very emotional. Apparently, he was crying at one stage, which again might fit in with the suggestion of some racism. But anyway, that may or may not be investigated further. We may hear more about it. But as to, I forget what your original question was about that manager, but I actually, again, I only read the reports and talked to one or two people who said Egypt played pretty well. I think they were probably dominated in the possession stakes,
Well,
and obviously the Argentines are a good side.
mm.
So they would have been expected to win, possibly. But the fact that they were 2 goals up with 11 minutes to go, that's Egypt, you could say, well, no team should sacrifice a 2 goal lead in the World Cup with 11 minutes to go. Now, again, it's very easy to say those things. If you're up
Mm.
against players like Messi and others, nothing is guaranteed in football. But it just seems, I mean, England, thankfully, we defended our 1 goal lead like our lives depended on it, and we did. It doesn't always work, but maybe Egypt could have made a better job of keeping them out. But then, if they were denied a goal by VAR because of that apparent shirt pulling foul,
Mm.
then you're up against unseen opponents as well, perhaps. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe on balance, it was right. The result, Argentina should have won it, and they did. But the
yeah,
manner of that victory is a bit questionable in some ways, isn't it? Not to suggest anything untoward, but it won't have been disappointing to FIFA that Argentina are still there.
yeah, yeah. Well, what's done is done. You just have to look forward to what's next in his life.
Yeah,
Now, this is something that I did not know. It says this is Vinicius Junior on Ancelotti, Carlo Ancelotti. The manager said Ancelotti decided to give the penalty to Bruno. I can't remember his Gimenez or something.
yeah,
Bruno
yeah.
Gimenez. It says the coach deserves who will take the penalty kick beforehand. He chose Bruno. I was never selfish. I never wanted to be the top scorer of the competition. and that's why Bruno took it. Now, I didn't know that you know, before the game, the coach would go, right, okay, so if we ever get a penalty, you're taking it. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Well, I think it's not a rule or a regulation. I think it will happen in some clubs. I mean, quite honestly, when you see some of these players, they run up and stop and then miss the penalty as a result of
Yeah.
messing about like that, instead of just putting their foot through the ball, in my
Mm,
view, then I can understand the manager saying, "Look, I don't want you taking a penalty anymore. In future, I want this." So the manager ultimately, the coach, he's the manager, head coach, whatever. He's got
mm,
to have the say. He must be able to say, "I want you taking the penalties." And let's face it, I think Haaland generally does it for Man City, and I presume for Norway as well. But you wouldn't. A manager wouldn't normally argue with someone like him if he's reliably scoring the goals. But I think I mean, for example, when Eze playing for Arsenal, I think was it in the Champions League final, he missed his penalty in the shootout,
mm,
and it was one of those run-ups where he stops and dithers, and the goalie doesn't move as he expects, and it's saved, or I think he missed the post altogether. And as a manager, I would say, no, I don't want you taking penalties. If that's how you're going to do it, you're going to lose us games, even in the run of a penalty in the run of a game, not just a shooter. So no, I don't think what your question is. Did we know about that? Well, some teams, a manager will say that's what I want, and they'll have to abide by that. Other time, if they don't say that, I think the players probably can decide. Perhaps the captain will decide as well, depending on who feels confident. Interestingly, when Palace beat Man City in the FA Cup final last season,
mm.
or the season before, actually, wasn't it? Now,
Yeah.
they had a penalty, which Haaland, he had the ball. Everyone expected him to take it because he was their penalty taker, and he then handed it to someone else. I can't remember who took it,
Uh,
which
it was the Egyptian. What's his name? Oh, I know his name. He plays with Salah. He plays for Man City. He plays for Egypt as well. Can't remember
it
his
was
name.
yeah, I think I know who you mean. I
Yeah,
just can't
yeah,
think of his
yeah,
name.
yeah. I
But
forgot
and
his
of
name.
course, Henderson, the goalie, said afterwards he was pleased. He said because he knew which side the player who was going to take it was going to put it, and sure enough, he did, and he saved it, which
Yeah.
obviously kept Palace's lead intact. So why on that day Haaland decided not to take it? Maybe he was not feeling as confident as he
Mm,
might do.
mm,
Why else would he not? Unless he had a painful foot or something, we don't know. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Who are the penalty takers? But if I were the manager, I would not want my penalty taker or any of the penalty takers in a shootout to do this run up, stop. Technically, they're not allowed to stop, I don't think. So maybe they say, well, I didn't completely stop. And then wait for the goalie to move. The goalies are getting wise to that. They stay there. And so the player has to make a quick decision which side. And by that time, the goalie has very often decided which way it's going to go. So,
mm,
yeah, I can understand the manager saying he's our penalty taker, whether it's Bruno Guimaraes or somebody else.
mm. I wonder if after the first penalty, when Lionel Messi missed his penalty, I wonder if the coach said, "Well, you're still taking the next penalty."
Yeah,
This makes sense.
yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? My own
Yeah.
opinion is when you sometimes see this in the Premier League, if the regular penalty taker misses it, I would say 7 or 8 times out of 10 they would take another penalty because it's a bit like getting back on the bike, isn't it? If you fall off, if you don't take the next one, that's going to fester for as long as it takes to take another penalty. So I think if a player misses one, he or she, we got to say nowadays, should take the next one as well.
Mm, yeah. Oh. So they were right for letting Lionel Messi take the penalty there. Anyway, this is all we've got time for on the second segment of the Football Referee. Thanks for joining us, our listeners online, and those that are going to be watching it on demand or replay, as they call it. I've been sorry, bro. Do you want to do the conclusion? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we had quite an interesting discussions there about the current World Cup tournament, which obviously most of us are enjoying. I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me Bruv.
And I'm Emmy Hickins, and he calls me Cos. It's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me too.
Right. And this.